Hello and welcome back to the Nothing Notable podcast. And today we're talking about the 2021 Academy Awards, the 93rd annual, which is kind of crazy. And we're basically going to be talking about almost every movie that's nominated for something. We'll have like links in the bio as well, if you want to skip around and have some fun. The first movie we're going to talk about today is Promising Young Woman, directed by Emerald Fennell. And written and directed, actually, and starring Carey Mulligan. And Carey Mulligan is nominated for Best Actress. Let's talk about Promising Young Woman.
Jack, do you want to start or shall I?
Oh, I'll go real fast. I watched this film, had absolutely no idea what it was about, which is my favorite way to watch films, and really enjoyed it. You know, Carey Mulligan I thought was excellent in it. Bo Burnham was in it, which was a shock to me, but a very welcome, fun surprise. Very interesting movie. Good stuff.
So I have a lot to say about this movie because I think it's one of the few movies that's nominated for Best Picture that warrants like a lot of like film analysis. I was watching the movie and I was having a very good time because it is sort of like this candy-coated movie about something that is very intense, and it kind of makes it very palatable. And that's one of the reasons why it's getting a lot of blowback also. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but to fully discuss the thematics of the movie, you kind of have to know what the ending is and what it sort of inadvertently says about women in situations like this and what's required of them in order to achieve some sort of reckoning. So I'm not going to go too far into that, but I just set that up to say that that's like a big important reason why I was watching the movie, I was enjoying it, and then afterwards I had to stop myself and think about it, and I was like, is this okay to like? Because like it's kind of complicated thematically because it's coming from a history and a genre of rape revenge films, which were super huge in the 70s. And they were violent and they were bloody and they were very, very intense, very uncomfortable to watch. This movie, however, it's about uncomfortable subject matter. But again, it's like candy coated. From that, I kind of gathered, is this movie almost more so made for men than for women? Because it's almost like giving a child some sugar with the medicine, because it's kind of put into this giant, I keep saying candy coated apparatus, and it's like colorful and splashy and fun, and all the male actors are these like incredible comedic presences. So like every guy's favorite actor is in this movie, mine especially. Bo Burnham's like a hero of mine, so seeing him in this movie is like incredible. And so I don't know, I just think that this is a really interesting movie because of it's designed for women but almost marketed towards men. It seems like they were trying to make a movie that was dealing with intense subject matter, make it palatable for men so that they could digest it and then internalize it however they wish to.
Yeah, I totally agree with what both of you guys are saying. I feel I have very complicated feelings towards this movie. I mean, I would say like definitely check out Promising Young Woman. It's a very interesting film. I could literally talk about it for hours, but also I don't want to talk about it too long on this podcast because we're just three guys, you know? Mm-hmm. But I definitely enjoyed this movie, though I think the thematic elements could have been cleaned up or like just focused on one aspect. I think it kind of goes back and forth on what men in society, you know, represent and how to fix the problem, just overall like douchey men, I would say. But yeah, if you guys have anything else to say about Promising a Young Woman, I'd love to talk about it for a bit. But
I have two quick thoughts. One, Carey Mulligan is so awesome in this movie and just in general. I'm really happy that she's been getting a bunch of award buzz and nominations and stuff, because she is really good in the movie. And then my last thoughts are just about the dialogue of this film. About 5-10 minutes into it, I'm thinking to myself, is this movie just written entirely in cliches? And then about 20 minutes in, I was like, oh, this movie's entirely written in cliches. And I was totally on board, like about 20-30 minutes into it.
Shout out to Jennifer Coolidge too.
yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, Promising Young Woman, definitely one to check out, and definitely one I will rewatch as soon as I can watch it for free as much as I want, because I still had to pay like $7 to watch it on Amazon Prime. Tragic. Okay, the next movie is free on Amazon Prime. It's Sound of Metal. This was one of my favorite movies of the year. I think Sound of Metal is great. Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cook, two young actors who are very good at in every single movie, but this movie especially. And Riz Ahmed gives a performance for the ages. One of the best performances of the year. He's nominated for Best Actor. And obviously just the editing in this and the sound design is so good. It's about a drummer who is slowly losing his hearing. And that's all I'll say about it. Overall, I do really love this movie, and it's one of the best in my opinion.
Okay, so I watched this movie. Here we go.
Here it comes.
I watched this film, and about an hour in, I had to pause it to go do something really quick. And I came back and I played it, and it was all silence. I'm like, okay, this is he's losing his hearing. They're showing what it's like to be deaf. And it keeps going, and it's still silent. And I'm like, this is a very bold choice. And it's still going. It's been about 45 minutes now. And I'm like, this is a bold choice that I do not like at all. I don't know what's going on. There's no subtitles. It's all silent and everything. And then it gets towards like the end of it, and he's talking to someone, and the person in it is not deaf. And then I'm like, wait a second, there's no way this is right. So I exit out of Amazon Prime, plug, and I go back in, and there's sound again. I'm like, oh, I got to go back a whole hour now and rewatch the movie. And I did. And it was a great choice because the movie was a lot better once it had sound in it.
This is one of my favorite stories
good.
I've ever heard. I'm so
I just accepted it as a reality that this was some bold artistic choice they were going with, and I did not enjoy it.
Because any other movie, you'd be like, okay, like obviously the sound is fucked up. But
Yeah.
literally for this movie, like half of the movie is I'd say like 20% of the movie is actually kind of silent. Mm-hmm. But even in the silent moments, they have
Yes, and
they have like really good sound design. I watched it with headphones, and I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
this is
and
a
I
great."
like when I got like an hour into the silence, I was like looking up stuff about it then because I'm like, "There's no way this is supposed to be silent," or like, "What are people saying about this?" And there's nothing on the internet about it. And then I'm like, "Okay, come on now."
You know what would be crazy, Jack, is if you went deaf while watching this movie.
That would be insane.
Actually, you say that jokingly, but while I was watching it, the sound design is so good and so incredible that I was listening to it very loud, and it was very difficult to listen to because when it gets harsh at the end, without giving any spoilers away, but
It's heartbreaking.
Towards the end of the movie, it becomes very the sound is pretty crunchy, and it's really tough to listen to, and you're totally in Riz Ahmed's headspace because of that. This is one of the few movies where like the technical elements of the movie so dramatically enhance everything about it, because it is a really good movie on its own, and the simple story is effective, and the character arc is strong, but the sound design specifically is just on another world. It's one of those few times where you can just lock in a technical award. And if it doesn't win for sound design, then like, what are we doing, honestly? Because this is combining the technical with the artistic in like such a special way.
100% agree.
A surprising nomination is Paul Raci for supporting actor in this. And honestly, before I didn't watch any trailers before this, and when I heard he was nominated, I'm like, oh, he's like an old like rocker or something he meets, and like he has like a cool leather vest or something.
Yeah.
But he's like deaf, and he brings him into this deaf community, and it's a very understated performance and like just really, really good. And I'm happy he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I'll start with a movie that's stuck in my head. Is Another Round. It's a Danish film starring Mads Mikkelsen, and it got a Best Director nod as well as international film. And Another Round is great. It's about 4 teachers who are testing out the hypothesis that if you have a blood alcohol level of 0.005, your life is more relaxed and like you kind of reach your peak just in general. And it's a great film. It's simple and very, very heartbreaking at points. And one thing I will say about this movie, in all seriousness, like I just can't buy Mads Mikkelsen as a teacher, as a high school teacher. He's just too hot.
He's so hot
and sexy. He's too hot and sexy to be a high school teacher. It's crazy that he's not hasn't been nominated for an Oscar ever. I thought this was his best shot, especially with some of his moves in the film. But yeah, it's a great one to check out. It's on Hulu for free. So if you have Hulu, and again, I think it's important to watch international films. We have that Bong Joon-ho series that we've been doing.
Good
and
play.
I just think it's just another great film from what's the director's name again? He's directed
Thomas
a bunch of movies
Vinterberg.
with Mads. Yeah, Thomas Vinterberg. Great stuff. Dan, you saw it, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you have to add?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I saw that he was nominated, I kind of hesitated. I was like, why? Like, this is a movie about like a bunch of teachers getting drunk. And then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, exactly. It's a movie about teachers getting drunk, and he elevates it so much to make it a really good, really fun, really sweet movie. And, you know, it is by far the best ending of any movie of the year. No spoilers, but it's just electric.
What a life.
What a life. You walk away from the movie and you're just like, oh man, movies are awesome.
Speaking of the magic of movies, we'll see how my transitions go as we dare to go through all these Oscar movies. But let's talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is Chadwick Boseman's last film, live action film. He will be voicing T'Challa in an animated series one more time. And Viola Davis is also nominated, her fourth time being nominated in an acting category. That breaks a record for a woman of color, which is awesome. But it's based off an August Wilson play. And Jack, do you want to talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom?
I just want to say I love Viola Davis. She is
awesome.
Truly incredible. She was great in this movie. I did see this movie. It took me like 3 days to watch it because I just never really got into it. But Viola's wonderful. That's all I got to say. Viola's great. Yeah.
Viola is great. She's one of the best actors of this century, without question. Yeah, and then Chadwick, I mentioned this before, but I think it's important to award him, and we'll get into this later, but like I think it's important to award him because then when we talk about him forever, we can say Academy Award winner Chadwick Boseman, and even though it's just a silly award, I think that's sort of special. I think that's sort of sweet. As for the movie, though, I don't like this movie very much.
That's why it took me 3 days to watch it.
It's a play, and we're going to be talking about a number of different play adaptations. Incredibly well written. August Wilson is just an incredible playwright. However, I think maybe this one should have stayed on the stage as opposed to being put onto film. I know, Tyler, you like this movie, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I mostly agree with what you guys are saying just in general about how for a play adaptation, like play to film, like it doesn't hold up as well as the play. Certainly, but I think what elevates this movie for me, as opposed to some of the other play adaptations we'll talk about, is just the performances by Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis.
Hell yeah.
They steal the show. They steal every scene. There's something so riveting about just seeing them act, and like with Chadwick Boseman's big monologue in it, in the basement. No spoilers here. But it's just like I was thinking about it when I was watching it, and I'm like, I was watching it on my like huge screen back home with my family, and I was just like, wow, like I get to see that like up this close. Like I get to see Chadwick Boseman performing so close, and it's wonderful that everyone can see it if they have a Netflix account.
Or if you don't.
Like they pirate the movie. Or if you don't and you pirate the movie or you watch it on YouTube. Like it is just so like it made me really like his performance jumped off the screen for me.
For sure. In
this. And it was just like, wow, I'm literally just like right next to him and like watching him perform, and it's insane. And I don't think it's anyone's best movie, certainly not, but I definitely think like Chadwick, and that's like comes down to direction and like adapting it from stage to film. Like, I hope we'll talk about In the Heights eventually, like once it comes out. But like something I really like about In the Heights so far, what I'm seeing, it's like they get out of like the street corner that the play takes place in. And that's exciting. And like, I never thought this got out of the rooms that they were in. This takes place in about 2 rooms. And obviously it's hard to adapt that and you really have to change it. But I don't know. I think everyone was really great in it. Coleman Domingo and Glenn Turman were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Glenn Turman from
Fargo, baby.
4.
There we go.
But yeah, overall, like I think the best part about this are the 2 lead performances, and I definitely think one is 100% gonna win.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
Real quick, I just have 2 more thoughts.
Yep.
And
go for it.
First, Coleman Domingo is one of my favorite actors, so seeing him in any movie is a treat. 2, I think I pinpointed what it was. It's that all of the dialogue is like so charged. And I think this comes from the direction. Every single line of dialogue is juiced up. Everyone's like really just going 110 miles an hour. It was all so charged that I kind of just, instead of crescendoing up, I released. I pulled back and I was like, this is not working for me.
That's how I kind of felt about the Fences adaptation a few years ago with Denzel and Viola Davis. Like, it is going 100%. And I think you need to be in like the right mindset in that regard. And like, again, it's an interesting thing. And I think we'll talk about play to film adaptations at one point on this podcast. But
that'd be great.
Yeah, I think I was a little higher. And let's just talk about another play adaptation, One Night in Miami, directed by Regina King, written by Kemp Powers. It's about four of the most iconic black figures of the 1960s hanging out one night in Miami. It would be. It's Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Malcolm X, and Sam Cooke. So, yeah. You didn't see that, Jack, right?
No, I did not see it, but I love Leslie Odom Jr. with every fiber of my being. He's a very nice man. He said something very nice to me one time.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah. We love to hear it.
You love to hear it.
We love to hear it.
For me, I don't think the movie's incredible. I think it's pretty good. Where I think it's exceptional, though, is in its characterizations of each of the characters. You know, it's mostly just these guys talking about things that are very important to the black cause at that time in history. For that reason, I think that this is a perfect movie to show to like history classes at the beginning of the civil rights era portion of the history class. Like if you're in high school and you're a teacher and you want a simple way to sort of articulate some of the differing opinions of what was going on in the civil rights era, throw this movie on at the beginning of the unit and it'll be a pretty impressive one. The movie's okay. It's pretty good. I thought Regina King did a very good job. Surprisingly, the stuff that's the best is when they're in the room, as opposed to like the first 20 minutes where they're sort of setting up each of the characters in their own little portions of the universe. The characterizations, though, are so strong. I think the characters are so well defined and well written. And I think Kemp Powers deserves so much credit for this because like I left this movie being like, oh, I know each of these people so much better than I did beforehand. Malcolm X particularly he's kind of like a nerd, honestly. Like he's a nerd for Islam. And like, I kind of love that. Like that's a perspective that you don't see of him in the media. And he's got this camera and he's like kind of a little bit, he gets a little bit petty at times with Leslie Odom Jr.'s version of Sam Cooke. And the conversation about like how Sam Cooke owned all of his masters and he like was producing other black artists and like, is that not black power? Is what you're doing, Malcolm, the only thing that can be considered black power? All of that was really, really interesting and really, really good. And so I had a good time watching it, even though I don't think the final product is exceptional. The characters are just so damn well written.
Ironically, I feel like you were saying just comparing to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, like the thing about this movie that really works is the scenes where they're just inside talking. When they're assembling and stuff, it's kind of like, all right, like, come on, like this is kind of cliche. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Kemp Powers for a second because he's he's a guy who's been writing for a long time. Writers typically don't get a lot of love, but he wrote 2 really solid movies this year, and the best part about both, I think, are the writing of it. They're both very different stories and very good still, and have interesting things to say about the Black experience. He wrote Soul, and he wrote One Night in Miami, and what a year this turned out to be for him. I'm really happy that he's gotten some love this Oscar award season.
Yeah, my last thing that I'll just say, well, I guess 2 things. I was sort of alluding to this earlier, so I just want to make it more concrete. With Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, how I said everything was so juiced up, it was almost like they were afraid to just let the words live, like you would because like in theater, you have to be bigger, you have to be like loud, and you have to be vibrant and bold because you just have to draw the eye to whoever is speaking. Whereas in One Night in Miami, it's like kind of soft. It's a lot softer, and it's a lot just more, it's a little bit more subdued, and it's a little bit more patient, and it kind of just trusts that you're gonna like understand what's going on, and they don't have to be so juiced up all the time.
Yeah, they also, one thing that One Night in Miami does really well is that it doesn't feel like the need to explain anything that's happening. It's just like, just go with it. Like, just enjoy these conversations. Like, again, each character has their own introduction, but it's not like, I don't know, with Sam Cooke, it's not like someone's like, oh my God, you're Sam Cooke. You did this, and this before age 19. It's a lot subtler than that.
Yeah. And then also lastly, just the, one more thing about the characterization. I've never seen Muhammad Ali depicted in such a like fun and childish way. That's what's so cool about this movie is like all of these people that are historical figures are painted in a totally different way than you might have seen in the media or read in history books. Muhammad Ali is like a kid. He's like got this joyous sort of silly, goofy energy. And then Malcolm X is kind of a nerd. And then Jim Brown is kind of just like the coolest guy on the planet, which, I mean, I guess that's not, we knew that already. And then Sam Cooke is really conflicted with what it means to be a black artist at this time. And so all of these characters are just so much more incredibly well written than I was expecting beforehand, and it paints them in a beautiful light.
Speaking of, we'll talk about our last play adaptation, We're All Gonna Die, The Father, which is a movie about mortality, and I just watched this before we started this podcast.
Incredible.
I really didn't want to watch it, and then I kind of enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is... I don't know. I'll tell you guys why I've been thinking about mortality a lot lately. After this podcast off my
tease.
That's a tease for you guys. Not you guys, the audience, but you guys who I'm talking to right now. But the Father stars Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman, and I just want to say this. I have very similar feelings to The Post that came out a couple years ago, and after I watched that movie, I turned to my friend and I said, wow, Steven Spielberg really knows how to make a movie, huh? Mm-hmm. And like, it's just like he can make a movie and it's fine. And like, I feel this way about The Father. It's like a solid movie. I like it a little more than The Post even. But Anthony Hopkins it's just the Anthony Hopkins show. And he's like one of the best living actors. He's 45 years sober, which is really, really cool.
Great accomplishment.
Congrats to him for that. And, I don't know. He carries this movie. It's really interesting. Just in general, how it's shot and stuff and written, and it's also based off of play. And yeah, I thought it was like solid overall. I'm cool that it's nominated for Best Picture, I guess.
I think you summed it up pretty well. Like, yeah, it's solid. I said in our group chat before this, when you said I'm going to watch it, I said 7.5 out of 10. Which, like, yeah, I think that's fair. Very solid. I thought Anthony Hopkins, like you said, carries the show. He's incredible.
He is an actor.
He's an actor. You could say that again. I really enjoyed Olivia Colman in it, too. It was, I said this to you, Tyler, before. I said it was sad, not like in a I want to cry way, but more in like a painful way for how Anthony Hopkins' character is at the end of the film. Wasn't my favorite thing ever, but I didn't, hate it. Solid. 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good, I think it's a pretty good movie. I think that the characters, Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins, their characters are two of the most human characters of any of the characters this year. I think that the dialogue between those two characters and the characterization again of those two are just so real, like so true. Because there are scenes. The reason I did not want to watch this movie initially was because I thought it was just going to be Anthony Hopkins being, tragically senile for the entire movie, and Olivia Colman basically being like, "Dad, you're senile," and I thought that was going to be the whole movie.
That was my biggest concern too.
Yeah, but
I didn't know what the movie was about. I thought it was about like a priest. Or something.
Wait, yes. Can I be honest for a second? My mom asked me before. She's like, "What is this about?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure Anthony Hopkins plays a priest." And then I realized when I started it, I'm like, "Oh, that was that one like a year ago where he played the Pope."
Yes, that's right. The point that I was getting at was just that there's like scenes where Anthony Hopkins does like a literal song and dance for another character, and like he's so fun, and he's like a total grandpa in that moment. And then same with Olivia Colman, she has some really like joyous moments where she's kind of silly, and they feel like a father and a daughter, and they feel like the connection between them feels very realistic, and the dialogue is suitably sort of messy at times, where like somebody will stutter over a line, or like have stop themselves and then say what they actually were trying to say. The dialogue is very well written, and I don't think that the technical elements of the movie are that exceptional. I thought that the cinematography was sort of lackluster. I did not love the lighting of the film. Editing's pretty good, direction was pretty good, dialogue's pretty good, performance is great.
You're in the same flat, but you're not, but you are. And it's like super, like it's an interesting movie. And like, I definitely recommend checking it out after you don't have to pay $20 to see it.
And also just last thought is just where Ma Rainey, you mentioned, like kind of never gets out of the room. And it, with the play adaptations that we've talked about, it's like, is this better as a play or is this better as a movie? This is one where actually it is kind of serviced by being a movie because of how you can actually edit and how you can enhance the sort of fear and anxiety that the character is going through. So I think this is one where it's better served to be a movie. I'm not sure if it is better than the play because I have not seen the play, but just the idea of making it into a movie was a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And also last thing on The Father, if you haven't seen Anthony Hopkins on social media, he has one of the funniest.
Good plug.
No, genuinely, he has one of the funniest Instagrams, Twitters, what have you. He's just kind of a crazy person, and it's like cool that he just like lets it out sometimes. I mentioned this briefly. There isn't a Joker this year. And when I say a Joker, I mean a movie I don't like at all that got nominated for Best Picture. But there's one close that like slowly I've been like just thinking about it more and not liking it. We talked about this, so this is kind of going to be our fast. We've talked about these movies already, but like we'll just talk about them briefly. Trial of the Chicago 7. The more I think about it, the more I really don't like this movie, and it comes down to the performances. Especially Sacha Baron Cohen and Eddie Redmayne, who I have a beef with.
Ever since he stole Michael Keaton's Oscar.
He literally stole it. They said Michael Keaton, and then he just went up, and everyone. No, it's like the
There's a Mandela effect.
Laurel slash. Yeah, it's the Mandela effect. Yeah, Michael Keaton actually won that year, but everyone thinks Eddie Redmayne did because he just went up and he said thank you, and then Michael Keaton was taking out his acceptance speech. You can see it.
There's video evidence of it. We're gonna get Eddie Redmayne on the podcast just to clear the air on this whole beef.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Michael Keaton's also in Trial of the Chicago 7.
Very true.
But also just the ending and how much like I feel like I don't think whitewashes the proper term here, but like
do it.
But no, just how this movie kind of like just like cleans up like this whole like Chicago 7 thing. Like it polishes it up really nice. Like it's like and we'll talk about this with Judas and the Black Messiah briefly. We did an hour podcast on it, and like if you want to hear our full thoughts there, you can hear it there. But like, I don't know, Bobby Seale like really is just out of the movie, like like halfway through, and like overall, like Sorkin's dialogue is like like it's fine. He knows how to write a script. Like he's like Spielberg at this point. But I don't know. The more I think about this film, the more I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And yeah, just weird accents all around.
Weird accents.
Like, we came to Chicago to not do a thing, and then like fucking Sacha Baron Cohen's doing a crazier accent than he did in Borat 2, which is weird. But it's still a fine movie. It's still solid overall. I've been shitting on it a lot, but like I think it's a very well made film. But overall, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I don't like it. So.
Let's do this, because I think we should marry Trial of the Chicago 7 and Judas and the Black Messiah together, just because I have thoughts on the two of them in comparison, because I feel responsible for your downward spiral on this movie, because I feel like I poisoned the well water initially, because you liked it, you thought it was pretty okay, and I was pretty down on it from the beginning. I've gone even further down. I dislike this movie quite a bit. I think on a technical level, it's competently made, it's competently lit and shot, and the dialogue is competent. But what bums me out is just like this movie feels so self-important. It's like so indulgent. The fact that like Aaron Sorkin thinks that this was the struggle, whereas you watch Judas and the Black Messiah and you're like, oh no, that was the struggle. People were actually getting murdered out here. And the Trial of the Chicago 7 is, I'm not trying to like belittle it or minimalize what they were doing or anything in that way, but like it's just not, it's the principles that Aaron Sorkin is reaching for, I think, are kind of abysmal. It's like, it's not just being in the center, it's like blue hat MAGA, basically. It's like America used to be great. We used to fight for ideals and morals, and everybody used to have like, everyone would wear a suit and a briefcase to work. And it's like, come on, Aaron, like we're so far past this. You're not, I don't like this movie. I'll leave it at that. I don't like this movie, and I don't like what it stands for.
It was very 2007.
Yes.
Totally. And that's when this movie was originally going to be made. Was in like 2007, and Spielberg was going to direct it.
And he kind of did.
But it was and he kind of did. But
sorry, Aaron.
Overall, like, yeah, it definitely, like, again, the more you think about it too, you're like, oh wow, like, yeah, Bobby Seale was doing his own thing throughout, and like he is actually technically not a part of the Chicago 7. He's like the 8th member of it. But yeah, he gets dispatched pretty fast. Like something really fucked up happens to him. And then like, you know, Fred Hampton and everyone, like Fred Hampton like dies off screen, like in this version. But like, and again, I think these are two movies that are Judas and the Black Messiah and Trial of Chicago 7. Like they can definitely be like linked because they're literally the same era and have some of the same characters in it.
Same place.
Judas, yeah, same place. Judas and the Black Messiah just does it so much better.
So much true.
And
so much better.
If you want to hear our full thoughts on that, please watch our review, because it's fantastic. Like Keith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya are so good in it. That is the real, like Dan was saying, struggle of that era. But moving right along, we'll talk about, like, do we want to talk about Nomadland? We did like a full review on that. Like, if you want to hear our thoughts on Nomadland, go check out that review.
We all enjoyed it.
Last one we'll talk about for Best Pictures, and then we'll just hop around a bit more. Last two. We have two more, but Mank, we've talked about Mank briefly. Any thoughts on Mank, Jack? Because I know when we talked about it, you hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. The first like half of it I did not really enjoy, but I thought the last half was good. I liked the vibe they were going for. I did not like Gary Oldman's voice in it. It would just bug me the whole time. But I really liked the vibe they were going for, and it was like doing it the same as like the old timey movies and shit. Yeah.
But what if he said, I wanted my mommy in it? Would you have liked it more in his voice?
Then he would win every Oscar there was.
Yeah. He also talks like this, kind of.
Mank is... I like Mank a lot. I think it's funny because it came out at a time in the year where it would then be a front runner for like Best Picture, but because we had to push everything back, it's now kind of in the back of the line almost. It's a good movie that I like. I enjoy quite a bit. I will rewatch it. but it is sort of being forgotten about. It's totally being left at the altar all of a sudden.
Yeah, which is sad because this is a very close film to David Fincher. And I think it's really cool design, like, and everything is so, it pops, you know, like it's so wonderful in many ways. And let's talk about a movie that is my favorite movie of the year. It's not nominated for Best Picture. It got swept under the rug. It's nominated for, like, I want to say, like, Best, like, song or like sound editing, something like that. I don't know. It's nominated for, like, one random award. And it's Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. It's on Netflix. Check it out, please. Delroy Lindo should have been nominated 110%.
Should have won.
It is blasphemous. I don't use that word often.
Great
It's
word.
blasphemous that it's not nominated. Delroy Lindo's not nominated. Spike Lee's not nominated, and like Da 5 Bloods is not nominated because it has the most heart out of any film on this list. And like, I know I'm getting kind of dumb and serious, but like, it's just fantastic, and I hate how it's not nominated for anything. It just got snubbed in the utmost regard.
Yeah, Jack, did you see Da 5 Bloods?
I have not. It was actually, I thought it was nominated, so I was looking forward to watching it for this pod, and then I found out it wasn't. I'm like, well, I'll have to circle back around to that because I got these other like 7 movies I got to watch this week.
It's a good time.
100% watch it. Yeah,
I absolutely will. I will circle back around and get to it.
I think that right out the gate, I gave this like a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I've pulled that back a little bit just because it is so indebted to a number of movies that it's paying homage to, and it you know.
And also your mindset in like June of 2020, you're like, oh, this is a good thing that came out. Yeah. Finally,
Very
something happened.
Very true, but it still holds up in my mind. It's still a really good movie. Yeah. It's a very fun movie. It's also very serious at times. The real bummer is that, you know, Delroy Lindo did not get nominated. For me, this is sort of like when Jake Gyllenhaal didn't get nominated for Nightcrawler, because I saw Nightcrawler and I was like, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal's going to win, right? And like he probably shouldn't have, given how great that the other nominees were. But like,
well, you know who won that year?
Your boy, Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah. Well, Michael Keaton, remember, right, Michael Keaton won.
Michael Keaton actually won, if you remember correctly. That's the Mandela effect there.
It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's called the Redmayne effect now.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe that's the Mandela effect.
No, Eddie also. Redmayne. I'm done with this bit.
But when Jake Gyllenhaal didn't get nominated, I was like, oh, that's blasphemous, to use your word. And again, this one is just like, it was so clear cut. It was so obviously, well, to me, it was obviously the best performance. It's at least one of the 5 best performances. So I don't understand.
Top 5.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why he wasn't nominated. And Spike Lee, you know, I thought that he was just going to be able to coast off of Black Klansman getting, winning an Oscar for that movie. I thought just for the rest of his career, they'll just pay him the respect of nominating him, but they didn't.
Yeah, and especially with the year that it's been, like, there's so many movies that just didn't get released, and it's like, damn, this was really the year where a Spike Lee movie could have won Best Picture. And it should have with Do the Right Thing. I think that's still his best movie, probably. But anyways, moving along. Any movies you want to touch on quickly, Dan, or do you want to move on to our last Best Picture nod?
I will give exactly what somebody set a timer, because I can go on forever, as I often do, and I stammer, and I you know what I do. But
all right, the timer has started.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
check out a timer.
For how long?
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay, starting the timer.
Okay. I watched The U.S. versus Billie Holiday. The title would indicate it was about a court case. It was not. They were in a court for like 5 seconds. It's not a very good movie. Trevante Rhodes is very good in it. Andra Day is obviously very good in it. She's nominated for an Academy Award this year, and very deservingly so. But the movie, it's not very good. Then I also saw My Octopus Teacher. It's the only documentary of the nominated movies that I saw, and it's quite touching. It's very simple. It's just one guy telling a story about his experience with an octopus, and a lot of incredible footage. The sound design on that movie as well, stunning because they had to recreate a lot of it. Then I also saw Pieces of a Woman. I saw this quite a while ago. The first 25 minutes are just the most harrowing thing that you'll see in a movie theater or on the TV at your house. But then the rest of the movie kind of doesn't work for me. Ellen Burstyn, though, is really great. Vanessa Kirby is really great in that movie as well. So that's all I needed to say, and I got it done in under 1 minute.
You did it.
Wow, that's impressive. All right, Jack, give me 10 seconds.
All right. Go. 1.
All right, I saw Greyhound. It's so okay. It's a mediocre movie at best. Tom Hanks in it
10
at
seconds.
the end.
Does Tom Hanks like play a guy who's Tom Hanks in it?
He's a captain of a ship, which is most Tom Hanks movies.
That's my favorite one.
Listen, I'm working on a Tom Hanks impression. I'm not going to reveal it now, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
Sure. Okay, sure.
It's basically just that.
That's my Captain Phillips impression. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay. That's not my blood. That's not my blood. That's not my blood. Whose blood is that?
Not my family. No. So good.
It's crazy because he's a good actor.
I want my
we
mommy.
laugh at him. All right. Last movie we'll talk about, and then we'll get into our picks. Minari. I've been looking forward to this movie for a long time. I've had a difficult week overall. So I was like, this movie I'm going to fucking cry in. This is going to be the first movie ever I cry in. And I didn't. But, you know, you can't go into a movie thinking like that. This is a very beautiful movie, I think. I enjoyed it a lot. Lee Isaac Chung just gives a very genuine movie to us. He wrote and directed it. Our boy Steven Yeun is the first Asian American to be nominated for Best Actor in 93 years at the Academy Awards. Crazy. You know, we've been Steven Yeun heads for a long time. All three of us, really.
Hell yeah.
Steven Yeun, though, is really wonderful in this movie. He said in interviews, like, he's basically playing his father in it, or Lee Isaac Chung's father, either or. And there's a lot of just great little things in this movie. And similar to Nomadland in some ways, it's just sweet. And similar to... I would say just Sound of Metal. It's similar to a lot of movies where it just takes and chooses. Like it has a very interesting dynamic with a husband and wife in the movie, and also a grandson and a grandmother. And overall, I just really appreciate this movie. And I don't know. It's just like it's just so great to see Steven Yeun in something like this, and I'm happy he's nominated, and I'm happy this is getting a lot of love. And Alan Kim is fucking the man. Oh my
Dude,
god,
that's the man right there.
He is awesome. I haven't posted on Instagram in so long, and I saw a picture of Alan Kim in like shades and like a tuxedo, and I was like, damn. Like I might post something, but then I didn't. But I do really like this movie, and it's just, you know, I wish I saw it on a big screen, though. That's my only thing. Like, I just wish I could have seen it in a movie all cozy without a mask on.
I really love this one. You know, maybe it's just because I watched it last night, so it's fresh in my mind still, but it might be my favorite one out of all of them here. And we'll get to that. I gotta say, the grandma, Yoo Jung-yoon, I think is her name, was absolutely incredible in it. Like,
hell yeah.
maybe my favorite performance this whole season. Just great stuff. I keep thinking about one scene kind of towards the end with the grandma and the grandson, where they're just hugging and on the floor, and it was really beautiful, and I liked it a lot. She
is stellar in this movie. Reminded me so much of my grandma, because they play they're playing games throughout the movie, and like my grandma and I, we used to play dominoes all the time, which is a similarly like sort of gamblery sort of game, much like the grandma is like super into gambling and wrestling and all sorts of silly like non-grandma stuff, as Alan Kim's character says, you know.
Drinking pee.
So funny. But also she has that great thing where like she's watching all these wrestlers and she's like, oh my god, someone's gonna get hurt, someone's gonna die. Like it's Yeah, and that reminded me, sorry to interrupt you, but that also reminded me of my grandma a lot, who's like just constantly worried about everything. Like when I moved to LA, she's like, "Oh my God, like, Ty, are you sure you're gonna be okay down there? Like,
You're gonna get
I've heard
homeless."
yeah, shit like that. It's like she hears one thing in LA, and it's like it means like I'm affected by it too. It's like someone gets like shot in LA, and she's like, "Oh my God, did you get shot?
Was that on your street? No. Did you see
it?" Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. Yeah. But continue, Dan.
No, she's just so good, and I think that the reason that we all identify her sort of as our grandmas is because this movie is, while it's a immigrant story, it is, and other people have said this, so I'm sorry if I'm stealing anybody's words, but it is so universal. Everybody can see themselves and their family in this family, and I think that's really kind of special. I think that was an intention of Lee Isaac Chung's and of Stephen Young's and the whole crew, that they were trying to make a universal story. And everybody says that when they make a movie, but like this one really was universal. Like that is my family, and that is your family, and that is anyone's family, because it's just...
That is my strange neighbor that is super endearing, but like also really weird.
Yeah, can relate.
Yeah. And every performance, every single performance in this movie, I thought could have been nominated. Stephen Yeun, obviously. And when he is in every movie after this, we're just going to be like, yeah, we knew it. We knew it.
Dude, the next Jordan Peele movie is going to be so good. Oh my God.
Hell yeah. But it's a great movie. Yeah. I also feel similarly to you, Jack. It is one of my favorites of the year. It is a simple story, great performances, very touching, very sweet. They do one thing that I will spoil that I think is just really cool, and I'd like to see other directors and cinematographers do this. There are moments when David wakes up a couple times throughout the movie. It's just like a shot of like the window, but it's out of focus, and there's just like some dust falling, and it just feels like the morning. Like it's something. Yeah. There are shots that like are clearly from the perspective of a child, where like when you're a child, you don't understand everything, and you kind of just feel.
And you got pee-pee in your bed.
And you just feel things. It's just like emotions and like very abstract visuals when you think back onto your own childhood. And I thought that they captured that in a beautiful way.
Okay, so let's quickly go through our picks for the big categories. We can also quickly do, if you want, we can do our what we think should win and then what we think will win.
Yeah, that's great.
Which typically are two different things. Let's start with a big one, though. Let's start with directing. Why not? We got Thomas Vinterberg, Another Round, David Fincher, Mank, Lee Isaac Chung, Minari, Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell, which is the first time ever two women have been nominated at the same year. There's only been, I think, 6 in total, which is insane, and only one has won. I'll start. I think Chloe Zhao should win, and I think Chloe Zhao will win.
I'll second that opinion.
I will third that opinion, but I will say I wouldn't be surprised if Lee Isaac Chung won, and I would not be mad if Lee Isaac Chung won.
Oh no, me neither.
Same here. I think Lee Isaac Chung would definitely be, if we're going MVP voting, like Chloe Zhao definitely number 1, but second definitely Lee Isaac Chung. Let's go to writing. We'll go adapted first, I guess. Borat, subsequent movie film with Sacha Baron Cohen and a bunch of other people. The Father, Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, One Night in Miami, Kim Powers, and then White Tiger. This is actually kind of a crazy list. Who I think should win. I think Kim Powers should win. Who I think will actually win, I think I'm going to go with Chloe Zhao. I don't know. I think looking at this list, it's kind of hard to like argue against Chloe Zhao. I
only saw 2 of those movies, so I'm not going to give an opinion.
Okay, cool.
Tyler, I absolutely agree with you, because I think that there is not enough of a circus behind Kemp Powers at this moment. Like Chloe Zhao has been riding the wave for months now.
Chloe Zhao deserves it. She's gonna come home with a lot of Oscars in this one.
Yeah, we love Chloe Zhao.
Yeah. Writing original screenplay, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. This is a very interesting category, pretty stacked overall. What I think should win is Lee Isaac Chung for Minari. What I think will win, I'm going to go with Judas and the Black Messiah with Will Burson, Shaka King, and the Lucas brothers. What do you guys think?
I'm good with either of those two. Yeah. I don't...
also,
they're about equal for me.
Aaron Sorkin might win, which is insane.
That would be so sad because this is not his best screenplay. I love Aaron Sorkin. I worship at his temple of writing, but I'm just not here for this movie. I want the whole squad from Judas and the Black Messiah to win this award, and I think that they will win this award. The reason I think that they will is because typically the movie that is like by far the coolest and most innovative and most interesting wins the screenplay award, but does not win Best Picture. So I do think it's going to win.
The Lucas Bros as Oscar winners would be sick.
Yeah, I would love.
I think that's also part of the whole thing. Yeah.
Great. Actor in a supporting role: Sacha Baron Cohen, Trial of Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr., Paul Raci for Sound of Metal. Also, Leslie Odom Jr. was for One Night in Miami, and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. Who I think should win is 110% Lakeith Stanfield. Who I think will win, I think Daniel Kaluuya is going to win, which I'm fine with, but I think Lakeith Stanfield's a little better than him in it.
Who I want to win is, I didn't even see it, but Leslie Odom Jr., simply because he's a great guy. But I would really also like to see Lakeith win, or Daniel Kaluuya. They both seem like really fine people, too. Great people.
I think that Lakeith is so much better than everyone else in this category. I think Kaluuya will win, but Lakeith Stanfield gives the best performance. Yeah, I think so.
Lakeith was my favorite. Great.
Nominated. Delroy Lindo.
It's Delroy and Lakeith. Yeah.
Actress in a supporting role: Maria Baklova from a Borat subsequent movie film. Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. Crazy. We didn't touch on that, but weird movie. Olivia Colman, The Father, Amanda Seyfried, Mank, and Yeo Jung Yoon for Minari. I think she should win because she was fantastic. But I think this is a tough category. I think Olivia Colman's going to win. I just have a feeling. I don't know.
I'm going Yoo Jung Yoon.
Yeah, for both?
For both. I'm going Yoo Jung Yoon.
Damn, hell yeah. I hope she wins for both. Or wins for one. Sorry, she's only nominated in one category. I hope she wins.
She wins Best Picture.
But I think it's going to be Olivia Colman. I don't know why. Dan?
Yeah, no, I think Olivia Colman is so good in The Father. I do think she is totally worthy of the nomination, and she is worthy of the win. But I do think it's going to be Yoo Jung Yoon. I would also be thrilled with Olivia Colman, though, because I do think that she's great in this movie. And I would love to say two-time Academy Award winner Olivia Colman.
Cinematography real fast: Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, News of the World, Nomadland, The Trial of the Chicago 7. I want Nomadland, and I think Nomadland's going to win. That's my pick.
I'm on board with that.
I actually want Mank to win, and I think Nomadland is going to win.
Yeah. Film editing: The Father, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, The Trial of the Chicago 7. I think I want Sound of Metal to win for film editing. And it's going to win for sound and stuff, or Nomadland. I'd be fine with either of those. I think Trial of Chicago 7 is going to win. I think it has the flashiest editing. And if Bohemian Rhapsody taught us anything, it's that the Academy likes flashy editing that might not be the best, but it is flashy.
I think all of these movies are really well edited, but none of them really knocked it out of the park for me. So yeah, I think Trial of Chicago 7 is probably going to win because of the reasons you just said.
Actress in a leading role. Nominees are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. Very solid category. I personally want Carey Mulligan to win, but I think Andra Day is going to win.
Ooh.
I think that's my boldest prediction of the night. And I only say that because she won the Golden Globe, and I'm like, And like typically that doesn't mean anything, but sometimes like with weird stuff like that, like just Andra Day like winning a Golden Globe, it's like, yeah, like, and I think Viola here, I'm gonna, this is my argument here. Frances McDormand and Viola Davis have already won multiple Oscars amongst themselves. I can't see Vanessa Kirby winning. And for some reason, I don't think they're going to give it to Carey Mulligan. So like that just leaves Andra Day. And I haven't seen The United States versus Billie Holiday yet, but that is my gut feeling. And we'll see how it goes.
I think I'd be okay with either Viola or Carey Mulligan.
So the case for Andra Day is that the Oscars loves this. They love this kind of performance. They do this all the time. I actually think that the fact that she did win the Golden Globe means that the Oscar voters are going to be like, nah, we're good. We're fine. She got some hardware. Because the Golden Globes are not predictive of the Academy Awards. There are a few other award shows that are more predictive, but Frances McDormand is going to win. That's my prediction.
This is, I think, not the least interesting. I think all of these performances are great, but I think we all are on the same page here. Actor in a leading role, we got Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Steven Yeun for Minari. I really want either Riz Ahmed or Steven Yeun, but I actually really, really want Chadwick Boseman to win, and I think Chadwick Boseman is going to win.
I'm in the same boat with you there.
Exact same boat. I don't think that Chadwick gave the best performance out of these nominees, but again, it's important to award him for the reasons that I already talked about. Man, I don't know. Between Steven Yeun and Riz Ahmed, who gave a better performance? That's so tough. Oh,
yeah.
God.
For second place, it's a flip of a coin for me. I think both performances were wonderful in different ways.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think Chadwick Boseman is going to win, and that's a great thing.
All right, last but not least, we've talked about all these movies. Let's talk about Best Picture. We got The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, The Trial of the Chicago 7. I want Minari to win, but it's going to be Nomadland.
I also want Minari to win. That was my favorite one.
I wouldn't be upset if Sound of Metal also won.
If Sound of Metal or Judas and the Black Messiah won, I would not be upset either.
Yeah, or Judas and the Black Messiah.
And granted, I wouldn't be upset if Nomadland won either.
Nomadland was the Best Picture frontrunner. There was no question about it. You could put $5 million on it just like you could with Chadwick Boseman. But then Minari comes out, and I feel like it's gaining a little bit of steam. But then also, I've talked about this before. My concern is that everyone's going to vote for Trial of the Chicago 7 like second in their rank voting, and then Minari and Nomadland are going to kind of cancel each other out, and then Trial of the Chicago 7 will end up inexplicably winning the Academy Award for Best Picture. That would disturb me on so many levels, and I'm going to do an hour-long response pod if that is the case. It's not going to happen, though. I want Judas and the Black Messiah to win Best Picture because I think it's the most inventive movie of the nominees. I think all of the movies are incredible, but the choice to basically Trojan horse the ideas and the story that they wanted to tell through a genre piece is like so genius and so clever and so fun. It's like a very rewatchable movie about very serious things, which is no small feat. And the performances are incredible. It's very well written, very well directed, very well shot, very well edited. Literally every one of the things that it's nominated for, it is like one of the best in those categories. So Judas and the Black Messiah is the movie I want, but Nomadland I do think is going to end up taking home the cake because it has been the front runner for so long. If I had my way, if I was ranking it, I'd go Judas and the Black Messiah, then Minari, Sound of Metal, then Nomadland, and then the rest after that.
Yeah, and I don't know, it is weird though that a movie like Judas and the Black Messiah is coming out after a movie like Green Book won Best Picture and solved racism. So
yeah, that's true. That's a great point.
Yeah. I hate that movie so much. It's an okay movie. Anyways, that has been our Oscar podcast. What are your picks? The Oscars will be coming out in, I think, 4 or 5 days when this is released. What was your favorite movie of this year? Do the Oscars still mean as much to you in general? But this has been another episode of the Nothing Notable podcast. I've been Tyler.
I've been Daniel.
And I've been Jack.
Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell us everything you need to know down below, and we'll see ya next time.